Match 83. King Kong vs. Zilla vs. Ebirah vs. Hedorah by Thomas Singleton. Nick Totopoulos watched gray clouds bombard the sea with rain. He was standing inside the Heat Seeker, a boat with a devilish grin painted on its bow. Whatever. On deck, the most advanced computers and hardware in the world from the 1990s were stationed around every corner. But Nick was more interested in the outside world. Although he was a biologist at heart, Nick couldn't help but appreciate the complexity and ingenuity of the ocean. All life recorded on Earth traced their heritage back to it. Most of Earth's creatures today called the oceans their home. In Nick's eyes, you're not a biologist or zoologist if you have absolutely no interest in the sea or its inhabitants. Oh, gee, that's offensive, but alright. He turned when their sonar detected an anomaly. It first appeared as a large blimp, but it was bigger than a blue whale, once regarded as the largest living creature on Earth. Now it was small fry compared to a new species humanity was quick to dismiss as monsters. Nick and his research team, also known as HEAT, Humanitarian Environmental Analysis Team, studied these large, dangerous monsters. But they maintained a greater understanding than most of their peers. Aside from their immense size and unique attributes, these monsters were nothing more than giant animals. While most religious groups liked to label them as devils and a sign that the end was nigh, the scientific community saw them as a true byproduct of evolution. Whereas mankind's descendants chose brain over brawn, it would seem these creatures selected an alternate route. What they lacked in intelligence, they made up for with their sheer size and power. And best of all, it was easy to trace back their genetic heritage. Most of these monsters were supersized versions of existing animals, but Nick views these creatures differently. To him, they were the finest examples of complex life.
Oh God, why won't it end?
No cafe?
Randy Hernandez, Heat's resident computer hacker, quipped.
Care to return to Earth for a second? Help us out, Effie?
Nick apologized, but his apology fell on deaf ears as Alex apologized for even existing. Walking over, Nick quickly assessed the situation. Mendel Craven was too busy remodifying Nigel, an amusing yet competent robot. Elsie Chapman forgot she was holding a cup of coffee in one hand while skimming through encyclopedias, footnotes, articles, and theories about kaiju in the other. It wasn't until after she had spilt it all over her research papers did she recall how hot it was. Monique Dupre looked pale as she guided the ship. Nick knew she was as cold, as dangerous as the sea itself. For the longest time, he refused to have weapons on board. But he relented when he realized Monique herself was a weapon. Okay, there we go. And her persuasion knew no bounds. Nick suspected she had already primed the heat-seeking missiles and machine guns. Randy glanced at the secret French Secret Service agent.
Yeah. Wait, the French have an army?
I just want to confirm this match is already breaking Kaiju X, and we're 4 paragraphs in.
I forgot to put on my glasses,
yes.
so there
how someone could think this is fun is beyond me.
I forgot my glasses, and I have dyslexia, so there. Randy glanced at the French Secret Service agent. Nick recognized his desires immediately. It was practically universal in all male life forms, desperate for a mate. Like so many times before...
Oh, sounds like the Godzilla fandom.
Yes. Like so many times before, Monique ignored him, along with every other woman.
Monique, do we know what's down there?
Nick asked.
We do not know exactly what it is. Monique replied. No. But I presume it is a hostile mutation.
Nick shook his head.
Unless it's Zilla, of course.
Your trust in the monster is misplaced.
Monique fired back. She was not in a good mood. There was no
I
arguing with
see.
her. That didn't stop Nick from trying. Alex.
Oh. And you continue to prove I don't take your presumption seriously after.
Nick retorted. But he was lying. He took Monique very seriously. Most of the time she was right. So he was thankful Monique decided to ignore him instead of snapping his neck.
The kids are fighting again.
Elsie joked. Okay, that was pretty good. Craven sneezed over Nigel's face.
And you just wanted to read it straight.
Well, you never know. We could provide different interpretations.
Exactly.
Yep.
He rapidly wiped away the snot, blushing. You two are so immature, and you call yourselves professionals. He thought he was giving a lecture.
What? What a dumb character.
Hey, that's no way to treat Kaiju X.
I wasn't referring to Kaiju X, I was referring to you.
Ignoring the doc for like the 100th time today, I think.
Randy said.
I've hacked into all available military satellites, I think, to find out what the Big Bag calls these waters home. Don't keep us in suspense.
Elsie replied.
Can't keep that voice up.
Randy cracked a grin.
Did he
Giant
crack
lobster,
open
I
a
think.
cold one with the boys?
Nobody laughed. Nick knew right away they were dealing with Ebirah. According to the classified documents Randy borrowed from the satellites, Ebirah had been terrorizing these waters for months, wreaking havoc on fishermen. When 3 submarines were dispatched to eradicate it, all but one returned intact. Not to waste any more lives, the government left it alone. Fishermen avoided these waters like the plague now. So then why did Cameron Winter select one of the islands nearby as the site of his new project? Not even Winter would sacrifice innocent lives to feed his own ego, right? Well, are you going to tell me, Match? Are you going to tell me? Nick felt sick to his stomach. He already knew the answer. His former college roommate, now turned technological Mongol, cared only about himself. Nick knew he couldn't just send Zilla there to wreck the place. Not without being sued, thrown in prison for 1,000 years, and slapping a death warrant on Zilla's face. Which is something I'm sure Alex would like to see happen.
Yep.
Oh,
Law and
I'd
Order.
shoot him.
Kaiju
I'd remove
edition.
him limb from limb.
Yeah. Law and Order, Kaiju Edition. But they were in
Ebirah suing Zilla.
But they were in international waters now, so the only things he had to fear was the sea, pirates, and giant lobsters. Life couldn't
And great shot.
Life couldn't get any worse. Nakoda.
Good. Oh crap, Evan.
Randy shouted, losing his grin.
Man, I don't want to get eaten by seafood, I think. I should probably say
I
that.
think everything's questioned, I think.
Are you saying Hefe?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He's saying at the end of every line, like, in the
Hefe.
show.
Hey,
Oh,
Hefe.
Hefe. Okay, gotcha. Everyone looked outside to see a giant crimson claw burst out of the sea. When it disappeared beneath the waves, it sent a tidal wave smashing into the heat seeker. Nick and the others lost their balance, except for Monique. She accessed the targeting computers, locking them to Ebirah's heat signature. She launched them without another thought. Heat-seeking missiles shot out of their bunkers, piercing the watery surface. Unseen explosions shook the waters. This succeeded in only ticking Ebirah off. Nick felt like bragging, but it'd be a waste of time. Why would he feel like bragging? But it'd be a waste of time. Ebirah resurfaced, revealing its ugly crustacean face. Raindrops bounced off its black eyeballs. Drool dripped like a faucet out of its grisly mandibles. When it raised one of its pincers, Nick thought they were all going to die. That's when the sonar detected the presence of another large creature. It was moving really fast and pass.
Slash the waves. It belonged to a giant reptile who's them. It's so fast, it jumped out of the ocean in the blink of an eye. It risks its own life by shielding the heat seeker from Ebirah's claws. Nick and the other members of Heat recognized the creature instantly, years before its parent attacked New York City. The United States military killed it after it left hundreds dead and thousands injured, along with billions of dollars in damage. The media was quick to call the creature Godzilla. Nick believed this himself for some time until he saw the real one attacking Japan. See, this is the problem with fake news. It was even in the 90s it was an apparent issue.
Okay, Trump.
It's Prime Minister Shin. Thank you. It wasn't long before.
No, that's our word. Only we can use it. You can't. You're not a true follower of
Hey,
Prime
you get to
Minister
make fun of. You get to make fun of matches. So do I. It wasn't long before the media settled with Zilla, but Nick didn't
but you're
think
not
the crisis was
entertaining.
over. I beg to differ.
No, I'm sorry, Grayshaw. Gotta have to put you down.
He and his team explored the ruins of Madison Square Garden, the first Zilla's nest, or the only Zilla's nest, but there, out of hundreds of eggs, they found the sole survivor. Nick tried his best to study it before it could hatch. When it did, Nick was covered in a strange liquid substance.
Sexy.
Instead of killing him, the human-sized Zilla hatchling imprinted him as its parent. Since then, Zilla acted as their protector, saving them more times than Monique would ever care to admit.
Whatever.
Ebirah's claws snapped at Zilla's neck. Zilla countered by diving beneath Ebirah, popping up behind him. Zilla bit down, squeezing Ebirah's head. But the giant lobster fought back, its thrashes generating more and more tidal waves. They crashed into the heat seeker, thankfully pushing it out of harm's way. Unable to shake the reptile off, Ebirah descended beneath the murky waves, taking Zilla with him. Zilla heard Ebirah's head crack as his jaws squeezed it even harder. To get rid of his unwanted passenger, Ebirah brushed him against an underwater mountain. Zilla couldn't hold on. He felt parts of the mountain break across his face, forcing him off. Touching down on the ocean floor, Zilla tried getting his bearings. There was no sign of his crustacean adversary anywhere. Before Zilla could think about what to do next, Ebirah blindsided him from behind and pinned him down with its body weight. Zilla felt Ebirah's claws tighten around his neck, poking past his flesh and bone. It was also crushing his windpipe. Zilla could hold his breath for hours underwater, but Ebirah was cutting off the oxygen supply to his brain. If this
Please kill him. Please kill him.
He wouldn't last for another minute. I just also want to note, I thought he could breathe underwater. Or is that just... I
don't know actually.
Because he always... Because in the show, he actually would sleep underwater.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be air bubbles coming out. So,
Don't know.
Maybe he developed hidden gills. I don't know. That's just my note. Any case, Nick tried being patient. Several minutes ago, Zilla and Ebirah disappeared underwater. A few minutes later, Craven sent Nigel down under to down under. They're not in Australia, guys. Down under to capture their battle on camera. All they could see right now was hundreds of acres of coral reef and seaweed. That's when Nigel entered a clearing. Nick gasped in alarm. On the grainy underwater camera, it looked like Ebirah was seconds away from decapitating Zilla.
Alex.
Monique.
Oh, wait. Who,
Alex, that's your
whose
line.
line is it? Oh. Monique, fire those missiles at Ebirah. We need to save my stupid son.
Shot a tiny smile at Nick. He knew she would take this as a victory of sorts. He didn't care.
He likes being dominated.
Missiles punctured the ocean surface, bombarding Ebirah's thick exoskeleton. Ebirah ignored the human weaponry, concentrating more on Zilla. Thinking, wow, so that did absolutely nothing. Way to go, guys.
Yeah.
Thinking quickly, Craven typed in a new series of commands into the handheld keyboard. Nigel compiled at once by moving closer to the dueling behemoths.
Compiled?
Oh, complied. Sorry, complied. God, this I'm starting to lose it now. Complied at once by moving closer to the dueling behemoths. But the
Now you
seriousness,
know my pain.
Now you know my pain.
but the seriousness of the situation experienced a minor setback. Captain Ahab, sir. Nigel sounded off over the radio, mimicking a 19th century sailor. I'm to do what you could not do by killing that accursed albino whale, Moby Dick. Oh my God, that ain't no spam whale.
Bam.
That be an oversized lobster chowing down on the lizard. Tell that chef to get the boiler, boiler, Eddie. I'm gonna cook me some lob tonight. Craven glared at Randy. I was trying to go in English accent. They don't apparently pronounce the R, so it wasn't great. It was okay. Next.
You can always try.
Yeah, exactly. But Randy, let's do this.
Don't look at me, I say.
Randy shrugged.
It's not my fault if your robot is into Melville.
Nigel used its propeller to move in closer. It electrified one of its thin arms before jabbing into one of Ebirah's eyes. Nick couldn't help but commend Mendel Craven for his technological brilliance. Who'd have thought a tiny robot could generate so much electricity?
Of course.
Ebirah's painful screech was heard for miles, alerting all marine life forms to stay away. Ebirah loosened his grip on Zilla's neck. It was all the reptile needed to break free. Zilla twisted out of Ebirah's grip, clawing at the underwater soil with mind-blowing speed and elegance. This was an excellent distraction as it made the water murkier. Ebirah couldn't see Zilla anymore. Zilla didn't need to see Ebirah to know where he was. Swinging faster than a torpedo, Zilla rammed into Ebirah at full speed. Nigel tried squeaking past the underwater monsters, only to end up sandwiched between them.
Nigel, no!
Craven mourned the loss of his robot. Everyone else didn't look that much surprised.
We lost a completely worthless character. Oh no, the humanity.
Yay.
Now that our moment of silence has passed, Zilla pushed Ebirah into the underwater mountain from earlier. The impact crumbled the upper strata. Zilla shoved Ebirah into the crumbling mountainside, pleased with his efforts. Before being buried alive, Ebirah saw Zilla swimming to the surface. Victorious! In the crammed darkness, Ebirah scurried to break free. In his head ordered him to finish them off. He had to listen to it. He had to listen to the cyberfly controlling his mind.
Yeah. Another epic win for the G-Man, I think.
Randy proclaimed proudly.
Randy,
Elsie mumbled.
copyright infringement. Japanese lawyers, not good for us.
Oh, please. Call him what you want.
Randy refuted.
You just saved us just now. Well, looking good as always.
Real quick, Nogota, you're kind of quiet. Do you think you can make yourself louder somehow?
Is it... Wait, where's my mic? Can you guys hear?
Isn't Elsie a
that's
quiet
better.
woman?
That's much better.
But isn't Elsie a
Okay.
quiet woman though?
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying.
She's kind of loud and sarcastic very
She
much.
kind of is.
I this version because he actually made her likable.
All right, continue.
Nick watched Zilla return. Nick watched Zilla surface, smiling. To him, Zilla was more than just an experiment or surrogate son. He was his friend. The feeling was mutual. Nick seriously believed Zilla was...
So wait. So a friend is more important. Who would have known? This guy's also a dick.
I know, he
Nick
picked up a
the
girl to
dick.
be with the lizard.
Nick seriously believed Zilla was empathic towards himself and other life forms. That's when Zilla shifted his gaze at the island owned by Cameron Winter. When he caught a strange scent, Zilla snarled. This sudden change in behavior compelled Nick to investigate his earlier suspicions.
Whoa, hey dude, what is Cameron Winter doing on that island?
Nick asked.
Especially a giant lobster called home.
Elsie chimed in, killing herself in the process.
How about you order Big Cameron is using it as a guard?
Nick didn't like what he was hearing. Randy wasn't the least bit surprised. Craven looked scared out of his wits.
Then perhaps we should pay Winter a visit.
Monique proposed.
that Citizen Snips is out of the way. Why not, F.A.?
Randy added. The Heatseeker plotted a course for shore. They found a good spot in shallow water. Using a motorboat, Nick and the other members of Heat arrived on a sandy beach. Monique
How
took
convenient.
brandishing an assault rifle. Yeah, so convenient a beach is on an island.
I know, right? Well, I was
Yes.
actually referring to the motorboat, but sure, why not?
Hey, I know what
Yes,
your
and
true
an
meaning
assault
was.
rifle.
Let's see. Monique took point, brandishing an assault rifle. Because, you know, all the no weapons on the ship suddenly formed all the here.
Wait, but it wasn't on the ship, it was on the motorboat.
I don't know. That's like technical. That's like lawyer straddling. It's like, you know, Nick, there are no weapons on the boat. The motorboat that's attached to the heat seeker, though.
That's a whole different story.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's his own gray area.
The eerie silence made her uneasy. She couldn't hear any birds chirping. That meant
Because Grayshot muted them.
I guess Grayshaw killed all the birdmen.
Yes. That's why Grandpa Birdsall's not here. He doesn't want to be annihilated.
That meant there either weren't any birds on the island or something was keeping them quiet. Monique believed it was the latter. Looking back at her teammates, she felt annoyance. They were way too slow. Even after so many missions together, they moved like scientists.
Maybe because they are scientists. Asshole.
Randy kicked up sand on the damp beach to join her.
Wait, whose line is it?
Randy.
Yours, Nagoda. Randy.
A little early for our honeymoon, eh?
He joked.
Right, F.A.?
Monique ignored his advances, as always, because apparently the sexual advancement, lawsuit wasn't going anywhere.
I see Nagota's flirting with himself. Oh, fuck, wrong woman.
While she respected him as a comrade, the thought of them as a couple made her want to jump off a cliff. It wouldn't work. She's taken too many lives to settle down one day to share her own, especially with Randy. He wasn't exactly Prince Charming.
Hey, don't be rude to Nagota like that.
It's true, though.
Monique felt her cheeks burn red. Why was she even thinking about this? If she truly felt that way, she wouldn't even be having this mental discussion in the first place. Why can't she just get him out of her mind?
Why are your cheeks red, eh? I didn't embarrass you, did I?
Randy grinned.
They're sunburned.
Monique quickly replied.
Oh.
Randy said in disappointment. Wait, it's
Wait.
raining. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I just got distracted. I threw a water in the freezer about a few hours ago. May have forgotten about it, so now I have a giant ice cube in a glass.
Nice.
It's canon now. Nagota / Durzer.
No, I disapprove.
I'd rather not.
It is canon.
Wait, it's raining, F.A. We can't even see the sun, eh?
Elsie smiled.
Love is so sweet. Too bad it doesn't really exist.
It does too exist.
Craven replied.
Oh,
sharply.
I just realized something. This is gonna be horrible.
Wait. So wait, it's a love triangle between Durzer, Nagota, and Kaiju X.
That's what I just realized.
Kaiju X can have him.
I'd rather not. I'd rather keep making old people pictures.
And this is why I chose Nigel and Craven. But in any case, or Nigel Cameron. Craven replied sharply. He looked at Elsie with his puppy dog eyes, wounded.
What? Life isn't all about that.
Elsie retorted.
It's about reproduction.
Why was I giving this ball?
What do you call
You can go silent if you need to.
what do you call levels? Really testosterone, dopamine, estrogen, and pheromones at work. All telling you tiny little I'm telling you tiny
No.
Of course, it does pay to move someone you can confide with and trust. Apparently, it makes life feel easier, and it makes paying taxes easier too. Just as Nick, me and Audrey get along great. We're gonna seal them out
Sexy.
any day now.
That's
Yeah, you're-
not. Oh, sorry. Continue.
That's not actually true.
Nick mumbled.
Well, I haven't spoken for months now. It's her career. She wants to concentrate more on her career. It's definitely not because of my inexperienced sexual experience. Yeah.
And your what's it called? And your addiction to being.
I will make
obsession
note.
with giant monsters.
I will make 100% notes that is totally a thing. Like I was like, why don't they just get together in the show? As being in that situation, I completely understand it. Any case, though,
So Gray Shot's Nick. That explains a lot.
I think you and I get along great.
and for some reason, I want to fire Kaiju X. In any case, where are we again?
I think
Craven whispered to Elsie.
Yeah.
Craven whispered to Elsie. She pretended like she didn't hear him.
Quiet.
Monique shouted. She raised her assault rifle, aiming at the foliage nearby. That's when the
I
ground
guess to
rumbled.
serve as a maniac.
A terrifying roar brought everyone to their knees. It sounded like thunder. Nick looked up just in time to see King Kong, or King Dong as some might say, burst down the trees. The giant ape landed on all fours, knocking heat off their feet. I just want to make note that apparently she saw the underbrush move, which means that Kong was hiding in a bush, then jumped out to his 50-meter size.
Yes.
Quote unquote. Just making a note there.
Yeah.
Any case, the giant ape landed on
It
fours,
was just a giant bush made of trees.
knocking
Just
heat off.
hide me.
Knocking heat off their feet. Monique was back up on her feet in no time. She emptied an entire clip into Kong's face, knowing her bullets wouldn't kill him. What?
Yes,
But
they
if she
would.
blinded him, they might survive. Yes, because what would be the size of a gnat, maybe? No, even tinier. Speck would definitely blind something. To her dismay, the bullets deflected off Kong's eyes. She was out of options.
Did not know that was a thing.
I'm just imagining Kong and you know like the Superman's return shot of the bullets, the machine guns bouncing off.
Oh,
That's what I'm just imagining exactly with Kong, like the giant eyeball, just like dink. She was out of
Even better.
options.
Even better, Kong's just secretly thinking about his weaker cousins, his smaller weaker cousins, buildings.
That is a possibility. That's when a shadow fell over them. Monique looked above her head, catching the sight of Zilla's underbelly. He had come to save them again. This time she was grateful. Oh,
What's King Kong doing here?
oh, sorry, continue.
What's King Kong doing here? This isn't Skull or Barrow Island or Mondo Island.
Elsie complained.
To the jungle. Whoa, go, go.
A now Japanese Nick commanded. Nick and his teammates ran like their lives depended on it. Kong bent down to swat them into red paste, but Zilla intervened by headbutting Kong down. The reptile lunged at the fallen gorilla, intent on ripping out his throat with his teeth. Kong had other plans. He caught Zilla with his feet and pushed him back into the water. As soon as there was a splash, Zilla was back on the offensive. Sprinting out of the water, Zilla tried biting off Kong's face. Kong grabbed Zilla's jaws. Using Zilla's momentum and his own prestigious strength, Kong flipped the giant iguana over his head. The moment Kong slammed Zilla into the trees, Nick and the others were sent flying through the jungle. Luckily, none of them were seriously injured. They resumed their journey through the underbrush with a few scrapes and bruises. Zilla, however, wasn't so lucky.
Oh, thank God.
With sheer ruthlessness, King Kong pounded his fist up into Zilla's chest.
I
Zilla
was
felt
fisting him.
Zilla felt the wind knocked out of him. He also felt his sternum breaking. Thinking fast, Zilla waited for Kong to get closer before kicking him in the face. A genius tactic. This brought him enough time to burrow underground. Kong sniffed at the newly formed tunnel. There was no sign of Zilla anywhere. He couldn't even smell him. That's when one of Zilla's claws popped up and yanked Kong. I'm sorry. Did anyone else just get the monologue Kong, a thinking animal, while he does this?
Yeah.
Like the monster has disappeared. I wonder where he went, and there's just a giant hole in front of him.
That's what happens when you think too much.
No,
Well,
because this
fortunately-
match is making me dumber.
Although it's supposed to be riding the 2005 Kong, like the fact that it's still the Toho Kong, I only imagine like the point where Godzilla destroys the helicopter in front of Kong's face in the movie, and it's like his eyes all go flickering for a moment. That's what I see.
Okay. Let's see.
Yank Kong.
There was no. Yes. King. Wait. Oh yeah. That's when one of Zilla's claws popped up and yanked Kong into the tunnel. Before Zilla buried him beneath the earth. That's the second opponent today Zilla buried alive. Mysterious
Zilla has a
narrator
problem.
announced.
Yes.
I think Zilla has. He's a serial killing murderer that likes to bury his victims alive.
Yeah, that's the new headcanon.
Why can't
But-
Zilla be buried alive? That would be a way better ending.
Yes, you gotta use concrete. Wait, he can break out of concrete. You gotta use molten steel.
You gotta use 2 weak missiles, because that's what killed him in the first place.
12 missiles, but
They were weak,
yes.
like the whole movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But this was a temporary reprieve. Weakly, Zilla stomped through the jungle. Miles ahead, he beheld the sight of a nuclear reactor.
Miles ahead.
On an island!
I mean, it could be a pretty large island. Hawaii's like I think 14 miles, 14
that's
square
fair,
kilometer
that's
or
fair,
miles.
but still.
Island and Faroe Island was easily more than a few miles.
Fair enough.
Even Skull Island had to have been at least like you got like it was like a day's trek for them to even get to Kong. And you're going an average of like a mile an hour. That's
It
at
was
least
the
like,
length. It was the size of my excitement for Alien Covenant. Very
Um,
tiny.
and like the movie and utter disappointment. But no, I'm just saying large islands. I don't understand why people instantly like can only be a mile. I don't know. Any case, back
We
to the
should
actual
stop
match
trying to
itself.
mock our fan base.
Never. A disgusting smell assailed Zilla's nostrils. It belonged to a terrible threat. Looking down, Zilla saw Nick and his team approaching the facility. He knew they were going to try and sneak in. Watching over them, Zilla ensured their safety. But when an earthquake shook the island, Zilla realized he had his claws full. It wasn't an earthquake. King Kong was breaking out of the earth. The enraged ape found Zilla standing hundreds of...
from the dead.
Exactly. Now he's a zombie Kong. The enraged ape found Zilla standing hundreds of meters away, paralyzed with fear. It was time for them to end this. At the base of the...
Insure or ensure?
Wait, what?
Insure or ensure?
To insure... I'm pretty sure it'd be ensure. I don't even know where you got that. Where was
Would
that?
you like
Oh.
insurance or insurance?
Right. Where was it?
I'm going to ensure nothing happens to you, or I'm going
It
to
was
end.
Zilla ensured their safety.
I think that's fun. Oh, we're time to go to dictionary.com.
Yes. Also, Kong
Ensure to
isn't.
make certain or shall be or to something that shall be the case, while insure is arrange for compensation in the event of damage to secure or protect someone.
And this has been a boring lesson provided by Greyshot.
The more
Yes,
you
One
and I would
next
like
know.
to-
time,
You're
but he
welcome.
I'd like to
talks
point
about
out one
difference between-
mistake.
But
I'd like to point out a mistake. Kong is not an enraged ape. He's a furious ape.
or he could be just a furry one.
Is he too fast, too furious?
Yes, of course.
That's actually the title of this. Actually, we're just right under Tom Match, the fast and the furriest.
Yay.
So Tom's a furry?
Eh?
That doesn't surprise me.
That's why he uses electricity. He needs to go fast.
Gotta go fast. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yes. At the base of the nuclear reactor, Monique found her way in. She didn't have to kick down the door or pick its lock. All she had to do was open it. With her rifle raised, she carefully walked down a dimly lit hallway. Nick and the others followed her from behind. Monique didn't like how narrow the hallways were. She also didn't like how easy it was to sneak in, and why the others were following her so closely. They should have stayed outside before she.
So
gave them
are they
permission.
breathing down Durzerp's neck?
Yes.
Is that what we're
Cliche
doing?
anime moment.
That's what we're doing.
Basically, like the entire Toho Kingdom forum, they're just right behind and just commenting the entire time. When she rounded a corner, Monique ducked down. There were 2 guards stationed next to a door, heavily armed. Monique waved for her teammates to stop and keep their mouths shut as she listened in.
Mr. Winter won't like us leaving our post, girlfriend.
Hey, I didn't finish.
Sorry, Grayshot, I already did it.
No, because the next thing I was going to say is all she could hear was pass.
Oh well.
Okay, whose turn is it now?
I believe it's Zerzer's.
The other guy.
Go.
Go,
What are we supposed to do?
deserve.
What? I thought we were at the guardsman part.
Just
Yeah,
like one
who's
of the
reading?
guardsmen said.
Yeah, I passed.
Oh, alright. Relax, the other replied. I'd rather take our chances in here than out there with those monsters.
Well, don't be silly, girlfriend. Let's get to our Pilates.
I hate you all. Monique brainstormed how she was going to disable them. It would have been easier to shoot them and be done with it, but Nick wanted no casualties. Since she's ordered to listen to him, she begrudgingly thought up another method.
But
There's an
Yeah,
air-
no
makes things a lot more fun.
casualties than assault rifle.
There's an air vent next to her. She unscrewed it and quietly crawled in. It led up to the ceiling hanging above the guards. Nick didn't want to take any chances. He asked Randy to hack into the security cameras and disable the lights. Such a task would have been impossible for most technophobes, but Randy was the master. It took only a minute for him to shut off the lights. When the guards voiced their alarm, there was a loud clatter. Then they heard nothing. Nick ordered Randy to turn the lights back on. As the lights turned back on, Nick looked over and saw the guards laying at Monique's feet.
Oh, it's my turn. That's my girl, F.A. Does that work?
Hmm?
Is it? Am I muted? I didn't check.
No, we can hear you.
No,
Okay,
I heard you.
Okay, good. Well, I read my line.
Deserve.
Nick,
Hey, it's Durzer. You
No,
have to
you're
read
supposed to say
yours.
Randy
Yeah, you're
exclaimed.
supposed to say Randy
No.
exclaimed.
whatever. Randy exclaimed.
You know, I have
There
to
we
say,
go.
I really ship Nakoda and Durzer.
And I really like
Let's go.
shipping you off to a gulag.
Sorry, I'm already taken. I appreciate the thought, but like I said, I'm already taken.
All right, Alex,
Anyway.
your turn. Or your line.
What's Cameron doing with a nuclear reactor? Still doesn't make any sense. And what's that god-awful smell? Mmm.
That'd be your underwear. Nick wondered. It was strange how they just started smelling it. Maybe it was a trap or security defense, but it was so unlike Cameron Winter. He never would have used a bad smell to drive off his intruders. Something wasn't right about this whole thing. That's when the doors opened behind Monique. It was another guard, a big one, for you. He must have been 7 feet tall. He had a very muscular shape. His arms looked like pythons. So he's a snake person? He even had a large battle scar over one of his eyes. Despite how intimidating he looked, it didn't save him from Monique. Her reflexes were lightning fast. She stabbed at his jugular before aiming at his pressure points. Monique had him out on the floor within seconds after that. But there were more guards. She didn't have access to her assault rifle anymore. So she improvised, whipping out her pistol kneecaps.
Oh,
they were
God.
They were writhing or saw them.
That cringe anytime that hit. Oh God.
I'm cringing through this whole match.
I'm just saying that is like one of the things you can imagine. Like if you hit your elbow on something, just anything with
Hitting
the
your
joint,
elbow.
just with pain is just.
Oh yeah,
Ugh.
definitely. That
You know what
crap.
this reminds me
Anyway,
of?
I'll read my line.
This reminds me of when Kong got stabbed under the toenail.
Monique! Monique! Monique!
Nick sighed. You said no casualties, so I complied, Monique replied slyly. Nick frowned. Randy was beaming like a pervert.
Oh, Nakoda.
Guys?
Craven groaned. They looked up to see a security camera watching them. That's when the wall opened, revealing a large digital screen. On it, Cameron Winter appeared, looking sleek and elegant. But it's not his wealth that got under Nick's skin, it was his arrogance. Cameron Winter was the youngest billionaire in the world. He revolutionized technology, designing high-functioning computers for many governments. Rumor had it he was designing the first quantum computer, too. He probably already had it, but was just using it for his own personal use, like always.
And here I thought I was being invaded by the G-Force.
Cameron Winter chuckled.
Nice to see you again, Nichols.
Ew.
Second. Outside, Kong was throwing Zilla around like a rag doll. Zilla couldn't overpower him, so he would have to find another way to win. Kong swung his fist, hoping to bash Zilla's brains in. Instead, he grazed spines. The pain was minor, but effective. Taking advantage of this, Zilla sent Kong hurling backwards with his tail. Kong hit and slid through the jungle like a freight train, flinging trees all over the place. Zilla sprinted at Kong while he was still down, but before he could munch on Kong's ankles, the ape grabbed Zilla's face with his toes. He pulled Zilla down, giving Kong enough time to put him into a headlock.
You were expecting G-Force?
A prepubescent Nick asked.
So then this does involve mutations.
Said-
Oh, those aren't mutations.
Cameron reiterated.
Ever and King Kong are natural byproducts of life, but they are too wild for my taste. So with a little cyberfly here and there, I remodeled them into the two new upstanding citizens.
So they're boring now?
That's
Yes.
exactly what he did.
The cyberfly is one of Cameron Winter's finest inventions. It was a man-sized techno insect. What it did was attach itself to a giant monster, preferably to its earlobe, and synchronize with its neural pathways and manipulate it. It's essentially turned the giant monster into an unwitting slave of Cameron Winter. Too bad the world would never know about the cyberflies or any of his other secret projects.
Like his internet browser history.
Oh.
Now I
So
want
this
to
is
run a
just-
match with
no, this is my part.
Mechanic Kong hypnotizers.
Yes. So is this just a big factory for your cyberflies? All you're doing is building a massive cyberfly swarm with these monsters as your bodyguards?
Craven speculated.
Wow, why didn't I think of that?
Cameron smirked with sarcasm.
Not quite my grand scheme, but close. I'll give you props for trying, but not for dying if you all decide to stay there any longer.
Nagoda. Randy.
He's doing it.
Randy.
I can't hear.
Yeah,
More or
Dakota
less.
was reading.
He read, yeah.
No.
I
Randy
can't hear
joked.
him.
You want me to read it
Okay,
again?
there you go. Do it
Yeah,
again.
just
Islander say?
Hang on a second. Let me refresh my page real quick. Okay, go ahead.
Well-
Read that
Kaiju
line
X.
again.
Yeah, I'm gonna make him sling. What? Are you back?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm back.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just ignore him. He's loco.
Just ignore him. He's loco. What's he gonna
Randy joked.
more or less.
Cameron admitted.
Insane.
Nick
I
blurted
like
out.
it. Mm.
Cameron Winter's smug face was replaced by camera shots of Zilla and King Kong fighting. Kong had Zilla in a headlock, one he couldn't break out of. Seeing his friend struggle made Nick so angry. Cameron reappeared on the digital screen.
Nichols! Almost forgot. Zilla was your best bet in ever making some serious money in this world.
Keep calling me Nichols. Mm.
Cameron said,
Without him, what becomes of you? Honestly.
It was never about money, you greedy bastard.
Nick
It
shouted.
always was about money. Mm. Zilla is one of our... Oh, God. I can't do this. Zilla is one of the worst protectors of our world. He hasn't done shit more than you ever think. He is garbage like you think. You may even think he's a pretender to the throne. You're damn right. And he's a shadow to the real thing. But you're right. He's not a champion. And he will do nothing. So I will hand the earth to you. And no, I am not reading it how it's supposed to be said.
Yeah, we can talk
Now,
about
Nagoda,
that.
your turn.
You tell them, white liver FA.
Randy applauded. Losing consciousness,
You can look
Zilla
up what
carried
that
Kong
slang
with
means.
them as he jumped forward. They both landed next to the river. Kong's grip loosened, giving Zilla the chance that he needed to break free. But Kong was quick to rise to his feet. Zilla charged at full speed, ramming in all the strength he could muster. Kong was sent flying into the electric generators, getting tangled up in the power lines. Millions of volts of electricity coursed through Kong's veins, frying the cyberfly inside his ear. Kong felt his muscles increase in size and power. He celebrated his freedom by pounding his chest. No longer was he Cameron Winter's slave. He'll return home after finishing these pests. On all fours, Kong ran over to the dazed Zilla, but he stopped. There was a strange odor in the air. It was the scent of a terrible life form, not one of this world. Kong gritted his teeth. Even with his newfound power, he couldn't stop it alone. He might need this overgrown reptile's help. Zilla stood up, his legs shaking in exhaustion. Before a truce could be made, Ebirah's claws jumped out of the water, clamping Zilla's ankles. Kong couldn't rescue him in time. Ebirah pulled Zilla into the river. Kong ran over to the riverside, but he couldn't see him. But what he did see was the river running red with blood. Ebirah surfaced but didn't attack. The cyberfly controlling it still thought Kong was under its thrall. Kong proved it wrong by caving in Ebirah's face with his fist. Kong's arm sent surges of electricity into Ebirah, electrocuting the giant crustacean. Kong thought the smell of roasted lobster was delicious, but it couldn't drown out the awful smell of whatever was lurking inside the nuclear reactor. Kong looked at the river one last time. Convinced Zilla wasn't coming back, Kong marched over to the nuclear reactor. It was time for payback.
It's a dust.
Cameron laughed.
What was the last part about Zilla helping you? I don't think I heard
I
you.
never said anything about Zilla being useful. I said he was gonna die first.
I'm so sorry, Nick.
Oh, don't
Elsie
be sorry.
said.
I'm just fucking glad he's dead.
She touched his shoulder to express her sympathy.
I like it.
Thanks,
Monique
sympathy.
said
Touch my
nothing.
shoulder like
As much
that.
as she didn't want to admit it, she will miss the reptile. Still, there was no time to mourn over a fallen comrade. She needed to get into Cameron's head. You've made a critical error, Mr. Winter. King Kong is on the warpath. He will destroy this facility with everyone in it, yourself included. You've sealed your own fate.
Not necessarily.
Cameron smugly responded.
True, my reactor will be torn apart very soon, and there will be casualties, but I will not be among them.
How so?
Craven inquired.
Because I'm not in the facility. I'm not even on the... That's right, boys and girls. I'm talking to you now from the other side of the world. Gotta love modern technology.
Gotta love Discord.
Yep.
Then by gee golly, then what is so important about this place, girlfriend? Why build it only to tear it down?
Nick demanded to know.
In a sassy
Do
gay
you
manner.
really want to know?
Cameron
Look.
asked.
You're gonna die anyway. Look behind you.
The walls folded, replaced by a second one made of glass. The members of Heat looked down into the core of the nuclear reactor, but what they saw was far more different than your typical reactor. Swarms of cyberflies were being constructed. They were harvesting and using uranium to neutralize a dark entity as they tried imposing themselves over its collective consciousness. That's when a big crimson eye opened and stared up at them from the darkness.
Ew, a giant poopy.
The
Nick
smog
rippled.
mon-
Nick whispered.
or Hedorah, the smog monster.
Cameron mused.
It's actually an alien life form, if you didn't know. Unlike any terrestrial life on our planet, its genetic makeup is based completely on minerals. It feeds off pollution and toxic fumes. Very interesting. Radiation didn't have the electrifying punch on it we were looking for, so to keep it grounded, we fed it trash.
Wow, no wonder why Greyshot took Cameron. He provides more an exposition.
Nick could see it breathing in the polluted smoke. He finally found an organism that baffled him in every way. While he'd love to have enough time to study it, time simply wasn't on their side today. Wink,
Whoa,
wink.
so you're going to mind control Hedorah? Gnarly.
Nick asked a question he already knew the answer to.
You're like insane, man. Can I have whatever you're smoking?
Aren't
You
you
want some
being
guanja, man?
aren't you being a bit hypocritical, Nick?
Nah, man,
Cameron
I
shot
love it.
back.
You were
Do
the
it.
one
We should be
controlling a
like best
giant
friends.
iguana to do your dirty work.
Hey,
What am
I
I
thought I was the
doing
one
is...
selling you the weed, man.
You guys done?
Come on, Cameron. Can't we be best friends again? I want to smoke whatever you're having.
You were the one controlling a giant iguana to do your dirty work. What I'm doing is saving the planet. I'm going to control the most dangerous creature we've ever seen. And with it under my control, I can guarantee the safety of our...
Do we look like stupid to you, man? Actually, we do.
Do you really want me to answer that? I'll
Elsie
let you all
screamed.
think about my answer.
We need to get out of here.
Nah, man, I want to continue to talking to my best bud.
Right on cue, the reactor shook. Kong was wailing on it from the outside. Hedorah stirred in irritation. Using its hind legs, Hedorah jumped up to the top of the reactor. There, the smog monster clawed it apart. With pieces of the roof falling, Nick knew none of this would end well. The falling debris inflicted critical damage on the reactor. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Meltdown was imminent, but Nick knew a few falling rocks couldn't do this much damage. It was as if someone activated the meltdown. You're going to... Oh, go ahead.
Hey, you're going to murder everyone in here.
Nick screamed.
I just
love it.
realized what Cameron's using as his drug. That's why he
Cameron
has
stopped
Hedorah.
grinning. He stared at Nick as if he might have a change of heart, but that feeling was brief.
That's what insurance is for. But for a final time, goodbye, Nick.
The
Aw, man, don't
techno-mogul
leave
said
me
before
here.
signing off. Kong stopped punching holes into the reactor. He looked up, catching the sight of Hedorah's deformed visage. The smog monster wailed a gurgling battle cry. Kong answered with a savage roar, leaping off the top. Hedorah used his smoke as a propulsion system and glided over Kong's head. But the smoke was toxic. Kong choked as it corroded his lungs, but the great ape was not so easily beaten. He charged the hideous space creature, tackling it off its feet. Kong wanted to tear it apart with his bare hands, but the moment he buried through Hedorah's putrid flesh, he was forced to retreat. Smoke sizzled off Kong's fists. Hedorah's acidic body was eating away at his hands. Kong was hesitant to strike now. In this fight, if he couldn't use his incredible strength. Strength was all Kong had. Hedorah's red eyes fired a crimson laser, which torched Kong's face. Kong backpedaled while howling in parts of its body. Hedorah fired globs of burning sludge. The moment they touched Kong's muscular chest, they dissolved his hair and ate away his skin. Hedorah wanted to laugh. Those cyberflies tried corrupting his mind, but them in no time. Soon he will overrun the nothing left to oppose him. Inside the reactor, Nick was out of ideas. He wanted to stop Hedorah, but he needed to get his team out before leaving the reactor's core. Explosion apart. Nick watched the fires hiss closer. Elsie screamed for him to run with him, but he wasn't fast enough.
Run.
That's when something jumped in front of the flames. Nick couldn't believe it.
Go, Steffi. I think you need some more weed ganja, man.
Oh, I would love some weed, man.
Randy pointed out. That's when all Heat members froze. Inside the reactor, Zilla roared in celebration. He was still alive. It seemed that he drifted down the river after a scuffle with Ebirah. He arrived beneath the reactor, and reptiles weren't cephalous creatures. Zilla was. It would seem he was emotional at all. Nick stared at the bleeding gashes in Zilla's skin. Ebirah has left his mark on him. And with all that radiation, Nick doubted Zilla would live much longer.
Oh, please die.
Nick said before rejoining his team. Zilla watched the humans escape the reactor. Weakly, he moved closer to the radioactive core. For some reason, he felt connected to it. Curling next to it, Zilla lost consciousness. Would have woken up again if the radiation didn't have an abnormal effect on his DNA. Nick and his team escaped the reactor. They wasted no time to stop and watch King Kong duking it out with Hedorah. They ran through the jungle, eager to escape this forsaken island as fast as possible. That's when Nick heard a familiar sound, one he was grateful to hear. Pass.
Hedorah blasted Kong into the reactor. Kong felt the electricity within dwindle. Even in his augmented state, Kong knew he wouldn't last much longer. Hedorah stepped closer, corroding the soil beneath his feet. Hedorah couldn't wait to melt the skin off Kong's bones. That's when a shadow fell over them. Eyes up, catching sight of a new and improved Zilla, and that Godzilla source in the corner of the island. The reptile king was standing at the very top of the rear. Very soon, the facility itself would be consumed by the radioactive meltdown. But before he could wipe, Zilla will have his fight. Hedorah shrieked at the lizard, daring it to attack him. Felt the atomic energy pulsing within. All this power, he finally felt complete, like perfect. Zilla's eyes glowed. His dorsal spines burned like the heart of a nuclear bomb that spawned him, even though he came from an egg.
Yeah.
Widened in shock. This was not what he was expecting. Zilla's jaws parted to roar as he expelled his newly acquired thermonuclear fire.
Enter the Toms, enter the Plum MacGuffin.
Yep.
I thought, didn't he already have that?
Yeah, he did.
I could have sworn this was the first match that utilized the atomic flame.
This was the first match that used Zilla's atomic flame. So him incorporating Zilla gaining the ability was basically a green light for everyone else to use it in their other matches.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Like it's green flames.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's green.
It's green flames I'm reading it. It's green flames engulfed Hedorah. Yet hundreds of feet into the air. It landed in the jungle with a loud, quaking thud as electricity coursed over him because he couldn't be hurt by radioactivity. Zilla jumped down next to King Kong. The wounded ape couldn't believe Zilla was still alive. He wondered if the reptile was going to finish him off. Zilla looked at him with with compassion. Somehow, he knew Kong wasn't his enemy right now. Maybe later, but not now. Summoning his strength, Kong stood at eye level with Zilla and hugged him. Nobody saw this alliance coming.
Nor did that
except for Kong.
Yeah.
Surrounded by burning trees, Hedorah straightened up very slowly. Electromagnetic bolts crackled across his putrid frame. Hedorah glared at his two opponents. They complemented each other well. One possessed incredible strength, ferocity, and intelligence. The other was fast, agile, and all packed some serious firepower. Even though it says Kong is smart, he kind of fell into a hole. Anyways, Hedorah waited as the flame died and plumed black smoke. She smoked really easily. King Dong charged the smog monster on all fours. Zilla sprinted past him, eager to test his newfound power. Tiny slits opened up around Hedorah's neck and shoulders. Burning poop shot out of them, dousing Kong, making him run around, scratching off his shoulders, trying to get the poop off. It stopped the great ape in his tracks as he fell over, fainting from it. Whilst the sludge burned Kong's sizzling flesh that was already sizzling, apparently. Knowing what it was capable of, Zilla approached with extreme caution, tiptoeing towards Hedorah. Hedorah shot more sludge at Zilla, but the reptile was quick to duck his head down and move, letting King Kong take all the sludge. Hedorah resorted to his crimson beams, but they never landed a direct hit, unfortunately. Zilla circled Hedorah, forcing the smog monster to turn around and face him. Zilla jumped forward, swiping Hedorah's legs out from under him with his tail, melting his tail off. It would have been wise to use his thermonuclear flames, but he's not a thinking creature like Kong. But Zilla's instincts usurped his judgment. See, he isn't a thinking creature like Kong. He wanted to eviscerate his enemy with his claws. But the moment Zilla jumped into Hedorah, he felt his skin burn. And burn. And burn. The situation grew more dire when Zilla sunk deeper into Hedorah's body. Knowing Hedorah's body would eat him alive, Zilla jumped out of harm's way. But the damage was done. Zilla saw the flesh stripped from his feet. It was so bad he could see bone. Hedorah started rising, mocking Zilla's laughter. Zilla empowered his spine with atomic energy. Hedorah proved faster on the jaw as crimson energy lanced into Zilla's chest, blasting him into a clearing. How big is this island?
I mean, it's big enough to house a nuclear reactor. It's probably like 5 miles in diameter. I mean, it's easily able to hold all this.
Easily.
Hedorah studied the fallen reptile. There was no movement. Hedorah thought it'd better be safe than sorry. So he flew up high above Zilla. Dropping burning pieces of poop. As the sludge hit him, Zilla stirred to life and began drowning. The dissolving of his skin was a horrible feeling. Hedorah landed behind him, loading more sludge to fire. Zilla purged the pain from his mind. Depended on it. Suddenly, Hedorah felt a powerful fist break open his back. He cried out as Kong pushed his fist deeper into Hedorah's body, electrocuting it. Hedorah felt the toxic moistures depart from his body. If he dried out, he would die. And as long as Kong was using his electricity, Hedorah couldn't burn him with his touch. Wait, wasn't he already electrically powered when he burned his hand?
I think he was. Plot hole.
Yep. So he thought of the next best thing. Next best thing. Hedorah's neck unnaturally twisted to the side like an owl. Kong stared face to face with the alien. Hedorah's eyes fired their lasers into Kong's face, flaying off the skin. But Kong refused to surrender. He dug his hand deeper, locating something of great value in Hedorah. But before Hedorah fired a blast that would have given Kong's face third-degree burns, Zilla jumped on him from in front of him, because only his head turned around. Hedorah tried to get the iguana off, but Zilla persevered. Treating his claws like a spear, Zilla shoved it into one of Hedorah's eyes, copying Godzilla in that couple matches ago. The end result was quite messy. Black blood sprayed out of Hedorah's wounded eye. Zilla moved to pluck out the other. At least he isn't burying him.
Well, to be fair, also, everyone thinks Hedorah's like just a moving liquid, but he's actual mass. Like, you can grab him and whatnot.
Oh, yeah,
so,
definitely.
Stab him in the eye.
Yeah. So him holding on and just ripping out Hedorah's eyes, it's like, Hedorah doesn't have claws or anything on his acidity. And if he loses mass and his acidity isn't that great, then it's even a worse situation for him. And that's why, like, when he was in the small form, Godzilla could just rip him apart pretty easily.
Yeah.
Totally.
He's also made of minerals, so isn't he just like a giant piece of mud?
Yeah, well, basically like an amalgamation of moving pollutants.
Mud.
Yeah, mud.
Alien mud, that's what he is.
Alien mud, yes.
Yes, new headcanon, Hedorah is now alien mud.
Yeah.
A thrashing Hedorah screamed
No,
as
not
he
alien mud, alien muck.
Yes, alien muck. Muck from the alien planet of Hedorah. A thrashing Hedorah screamed as he went blind. Jumping off, Zilla left Kong to inflict critical damage. Let me just move my torch really quick. Okay. And the eighth wonder of the world ripped out 2 egg sacs. His electricity reduced them to dust. Together with his ally, King Kong and Zilla hit Hedorah so hard the smog monster was knocked all the way back into the river, miles away. This was not a good thing. Hedorah thrived in the water. Even if he couldn't see and was not reproducing, Hedorah would not die, as he had killed Burning Godzilla beforehand. Zilla and Kong wanted to test that theory. Thermonuclear flames engulfed the smog monster who was still under the river. The river boiled as Hedorah's crackling form fought off the sweltering heat. Hedorah's blistering skin popped and evaporated. The smog monster couldn't believe it, but he was shrinking. Needing to recharge, Zilla ceased firing. Oh, I got lines up next. This is gonna suck. Nick and his team reached the beach. He recalled feeling the heat of the battle unfold. Many of his contemporaries have written about Hedorah. They agreed the best way to neutralize him was by drying. But it would be a temporary setback. As long as there was water and pollution in the vicinity, Hedorah's return was inevitable.
You doing okay?
Elsie asked. Beyond the jungle, distant roars of pain as he was being melted alive again. Nick smiled.
Alex?
I'm just
You gonna?
glad
You gonna?
he's-
He's
Hold on, no, I'll type
Is he
for
there?
Nick, it's fine.
I
No,
don't-
he's not.
Yeah, I don't think he
He's
is.
that.
I'm just.
Feel free to take over. Oh crap! Hang on, I froze.
Seismic. What?
Is he muted or something?
Yeah, I froze for a brief
Yeah,
second
that-
there. So, great shot. Just say that line again, like Nick smiled.
I guess I'll just take over for Nick until he gets back.
Yeah.
I'm just glad he's alive.
Seismic activity vibrated the island. It didn't vibrate across the island, it vibrated the whole island. Worried, Elsie pushed Nick into the motorboat with the other members of Heat. All odds, Zilla returned from the dead, new and improved. But if they died, none of them would we come back. Except, unless if they find Frankenstein and have him do the electric work. Hedorah's healthy eye turned, even though he's supposed to be blind. The smog monster knew it. It needed to strike soon. Zilla and King Kong took their eyes off the toxic alien, casting their suspicions at the unstable nuclear reactor. It was going critical. When it melted down, the island would cease to exist. Beneath Hedorah's melting exterior, a smaller menace emerged. Zilla and Kong shrieked in alarm when a miniaturized Hedorah flew out and smacked them in the face as it flew by. It looked more like a flying tadpole than the larger smog monster. Kong ducked as it flew above him again, but the great ape was choking on poisonous fumes, gritting his teeth to succumb. The flying Hedorah swooped down to finish the job. Kong, however, was ready to greet it with a punch to the face. Kong slammed it straight down, frying it into dust with his electricity, while still being inside of a river, apparently. There was still the larger Hedorah to contend with. With time running out, Zilla and Kong moved into action. Powering up his atomic breath, Zilla and Hedorah writhed in the boiling waters, unable to take the heat even though he killed burning Godzilla, who was inside of a volcano. You gotta remember that. Rodan knocked him into that volcano. Kong improvised by jumping into the nasty
In the
waters.
back.
Stolen your lines, just telling you that now.
Yeah, don't worry. I took
Conducting-
over your lines and I said all the nice things.
Oh, goody.
In King Kong's power, the river coursed with the very element Hedorah hated. Electricity. Kong's electricity snaked into being. Reducing its exterior to crumbling dust, even though he's still inside polluted water, so that shouldn't be doing any damage to him. Zilla's flame boiled sides. Before their very eyes, Hedorah had shrunk into a shadow of its former self. And with no eggs to carry on his legacy, even though it launched out one earlier. Permanently. Zilla and Kong sniffed the air, seeing that they were victorious, but the clock was ticking. That's right, they would never have made it off the island on foot. Zilla slashed into the earth with his claws, tunneling underground. Kong had no choice but to follow him into the abyss. Again. The heat seeker sailed across the sea at its top speed. Nick stood alone on his stern, looking back at the island while smoking a joint. He thought about Cameron Winter and how much would have been different if they had worked together to make an even greater drug instead of against each other.
Well, I wanted
thought
to
about
work
the
with
risk.
him, but the author wouldn't let me.
He thought about the mysteries of the universe, the world, and life itself. He's nicking too much. Nick was a scientist. He was the thinking animal. He knew there
Nah,
were
he was a
answers
terrible
waiting.
actor.
Yes, and a terrible actor. He knew the answers waiting to be discovered. But did he know that for certain? As much as he hated to admit it, Nick felt stupid. All he could do was have faith in Kamagidan. There was something else. Something to know if he should feel troubled by or not. Though the pursuit of truth was important to him, Nick couldn't help but wonder if there was the truth in itself. Where would any of them be without the mysteries? In the mystery machine? Who knows? Past.
Oh, gee darn it. Out of the job, I guess. He whispered to himself. A blinding flash stabbed the horizon. Douchebag shielded his eyes, praying the worst abomination ever survived. When the light faded away, there was no sign of the island. It has been wiped off the face of the earth. Dick looked down at the water, lost for words. Monique asked, only she was stealthy enough to sneak up on him without making a sound. I can't believe he's dead. Fucking finally. Nick said under his breath.
I
you
can't.
said that.
I can't hear you, Deserve. I can't hear you.
You can't hear him? We can hear him.
Let me hang on. All right, just go with if were it so easy. Just go with that.
Again? Alright. Where it's so easy.
Monique replied she left him alone, hinting she knew something he didn't. Nick looked back at the water. It's where life began. It's also where life was rekindled. There was a loud splash in the distance. Nick pulled out his binocular, spotting its source. It was the giant dog, was in the water, alive and in good health. He was presently swimming back to one of his islands. Before just went into the horizon, Kong bellowed a loud, thundering roar. It was a thank you. But to who? That's when Abomination surfaced next to the heat seeker, soaking Nick head to toe. Pure Zilla was quick thinking. Zilla's quick thinking saved his and Kong's life. Zilla answered Kong with an ear-piercing shriek. Bending down, Zilla stared into Nick's eyes, reaching out to touch Zilla's scaly chin. Nick knew the giant reptile was special. He would always be there for him, and Nick would always be there for other people. Let's not go home. I want to leave you on the fire at the fireman place.
Go back to Hedorah and die.
Nick told his stupid son. The heat seeker plodded a course toward New York City. As it sailed across the ocean, sunlight brightened up the horizon ahead of it. The Abomination watched the humans swim away on their vessel. Knowing he was faster, he gave them a head start to compensate. For Zilla, this was a race, one he knew he'd win. Winner, King Dong, and Dong. That's
Yes.
who won.
And Zilla.
No, he didn't.
Uh,
Alright, I read this stupid match. Gray Shot, show us the banner.
hang on. We have to talk about the match first.
No, we don't.
Honestly,
Yes, we do.
I like even though
It was long.
It definitely long. The match itself was definitely long, but the first thing I will point out, I sort of like the banner, kind of, in a way. Like, it's a little tight. They're all kind of like clustered together a bit, but I do kind of like the aesthetic of it.
Oh.
But yeah, that said, I will admit this match was very. I mean, don't get me wrong, story to it, and just four monsters makes sense why it'd be long. But I do feel like I don't know this.
I think it keeps a good pace for the most part. I would say the beginning is maybe a little slow, and there are points
definitely.
that provide a little too much exposition.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
The cyberflies, there's some notes as if like an apparent editor is like, or a apparent narrative figure is like speaking, even though most of this takes place in like someone's saying this is happening, like the past tense.
Yeah.
So those minor complaints aside, it does tell an interesting story. I do like. Again, this isn't. This is still a focus on the monsters, and that's actually told by the human perspective.
Yeah.
Having Cameron not be. Again, this is still in the age where the monsters were the main focus. So Cameron wasn't the antagonist. It was
Gray Shot's
Hedorah.
is struggling. He can't think of anything nice.
No, it's very much Hedorah is the end game, which was a nice surprise. And I will say, well, I mean, he's there in the he's there because of the banner, but it's a nice narrative surprise, and it's one that provides an interesting challenge for Kong and Zilla, which, by the way, was a pretty good combo, with one being more fisticuffs, the other one being more long range and quick.
Oh, right. At least upon his revitalization.
One is a
but
thinking
still.
animal. The other's a reptile.
But yeah, I do kind of agree. Like, there are some like nice action bits. The Kong Zilla alliance is actually pretty cool. And,
Yep.
it's like the fact that they pretty much had to be top of their game just to take down Hedorah. Like Hedorah was a really good challenge, as he is always. So, yeah, like narrative, like there are, like I said, as you mentioned, there are some, like it is a bit slow in the beginning. There's a lot of a bit unneeded exposition that could have been condensed some. Or
The
just
other thing the other thing I will note is two notes. One, again, the story is it does also provide a few interesting notes to the characters, the monsters themselves, and their abilities. For instance, Kong gaining the superpowers off just like random, like an electric generator. It's always lightning. Every single match, lightning, lightning, lightning. And this one, it's like, hey, what if it's just like a electrical power station?
Yeah, definitely. So the way he obtains the power is
Very
actually
cool.
really cool and kind of fits naturally.
Yeah, and two, which was the fact that this match also you have to keep in mind. I would consider it one of the good cornerstone matches, or at least the pillars of the KWC, because of the fact that this was one of the first matches that really told a story. Maybe not the best story, but it was one of the first ones that attempted to give a good story. Brought the Heat team in, and it also gave Zilla the ability to use his atomic ray from the series. It was GVJ just laughed. He was like, "I'm not having it."
Yeah.
Too many compliments. But no, this also gave Zilla the ability to use his ray. It very much started the change in Zilla's appearance on the KWC from being an antagonist that usually got murdered to being a monster that I think has one of the better win streaks on the KWC.
Zilla easily has one of the better win streaks in the KWC. So,
Time to change that.
yes.
It will change in my match too. Don't worry about it.
Hey,
That's
but in any case,
spoilers.
but my thoughts, I'm a little bit biased in this regard because this is one of my favorite matches. Just because when I was first reading the matches, the KWC was always interesting, but I always like writing matches, but I wrote a ton of matches. I never even had the Godzilla font. I would crop out the letters, and I would save all the letters to like a PowerPoint or something, and then use them to write out the monster title.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of work, I know, but yeah. But
Too
in any
much
case,
work, man.
yeah. But what I will say is when I read this, I was like, oh my God, you can have like an actual story. And that kind of got me thinking on what to do for my matches. And that eventually led to my series, which is currently ongoing. And one that definitely it does have a narrative focus on it as much as the monster focus. So, yeah,
Don't worry, Grisha. I'm thinking
without
of
this
making a
match,
series soon.
Without this match, I don't think mine would have been. I don't think my series would be in the KWC today. So I got to thank Tom for that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's really cool. And honestly, in a way, I kind of look forward to reading them. Kinda.
Kind of. Only you did have that 164.
Yeah.
But yeah, your thoughts, Deserve?
I don't know. The match just never really had my interest. Like, I don't know. I just didn't really care for this whole setup. I'm just not a fan of everybody keep relying on Kong gaining his electric powers to win. Like, I understand in this case because Hedorah, but I'm just never a fan of everybody keep, going straight to electricity for Kong to win. It's like, he is a thinking animal. He does, snap monsters' jaws. He does use rocks to, bash
Smash
their
his
heads
fist
in.
into their face.
I mean, at least he did kill Ebirah without using his electric powers. I'll give him that, but...
He basically just one-punch
Kong
man smashes his
smash.
face in. Yeah. Everyone just walks over. Hi there, ally. Bam.
Boom. Yeah, that was pretty good.
And I will make note. I mean, the banner does at least use that with the rock and whatnot. Which, by the way, good banner.
Yep.
But I guess the last note is for those that are fans of the series. This doesn't nail the characters quite down. And I will admit my matches don't either. I kind of take liberties with it. But for what's given, if you're a fan of like
fiction, doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the '98 series, I mean, it's good to keep the characters in character, quote unquote. And Elsie using like elongated, like smart terminology, Nick being more human element, Monique being cold, or Randy being comical. It all works out. Yeah, for this match, at least in certain aspects. Some not so much. Like I think Nick's speaking with Cameron was a little too, oh, climactic. You're insane. Whereas in the show, it very much was.
Well, I completely missed a lot because my internet crapped out for a minute.
Ah.
Yeah. I know. I had it for set for 5 minutes. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, Nagoda, what do you think of the match?
Yeah, Nagoda, your thoughts.
Well, how I saw it was this was pretty interesting, and it gave me a couple ideas to use later on. But I like how it goes from Zilla fighting one guy, burying him alive, other guy, and at the end, the big bad guy pops up, and then to work together to kill him.
So you kind of like the
Exactly.
way the fights were structured then.
I'm trying to find. At least the one thing I like about this is that how they kept the robot dying. The robot has to die
Oh
every
yeah,
day.
Nigel being destroyed.
Poor
Yeah.
Nigel.
I think. I think that's about it. And for the banner, I like how Kong looks like he's about to smash someone's head in with that rock he's holding.
Well, judging from how
And the
oh okay.
yeah,
Yeah, judging
keep
from
going.
how he's
Yep.
holding that rock, he's gonna smash Zilla's head in.
yeah. And then Ebirah and Hedorah kind of look like they got taken out of the movie. Which brings that Hedorah from the movie, so like that what's it called, that pose he's in, his flame form.
Yeah. I will say, out of all the three, Ebirah is the one that kind of sticks out more like a sore thumb.
Zilla looks terrible on the banner. And I'm not just saying because I hate him. He just looks badly photoshopped in.
I would think Ebirah is more. Zilla just need a little bit more work. Kong and Hedorah, though, I think fit very well.
They actually fit in nicely because of their darker colors.
Yeah, and the pixelation from the movies, yeah.
To be Ebirah looks okay. It's just Zilla that looks terribly out of place.
He's too lit up.
Zilla is just placed in a corner, like all like Ebirah's in the water, Hedorah's in the air, so it's like not much you can do there. Kong is like in something. Zilla's just kind of slapped in there. I could see that. But yeah, Alex,
also like
what were
the-
your
like the
thoughts?
Storytelling element of this.
Alex, what were your thoughts?
I liked when it was over.
Fair enough.
Did you also like how Zilla got pooped on?
Yeah, I guess that was cool.
But yeah. Otherwise, I think this is one definitely. This was a
One
good start
step
to
over.
Tom's trilogy. Many people argue about that trilogy, but I would say it's also one of the most infamous matches of the KWC.
Wait,
For
here's
those that-
another trilogy?
Yeah, this was the Tom trilogy.
Well, it's a Tom
It was,
trilogy.
it was like this 130 something, I think, or 111 something like that, and 150.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good series of match. I think this was a good start, and again, the reason why I say this is this is one of the KWC matches I think goes into on a pedestal. Again, not because of the actual match itself, but because of what it brought to the table for the KWC in regards to Zilla, narrative matches, and
How flexible you could be with adding powers and whatnot. Yeah.
exactly.
Ew.
So yeah, that
So, yeah.
that
So
cannot
yeah,
be.
good job, Tom.
All right, that cannot be denied, and we will see you guys next time for match 84. Until then, folks.
Please
Later,
don't.
guys.
Which one's the next one?
Goliath versus Red King. Two monsters
Okay.
I have no knowledge of.